Welcome back to Kai's Tech. So far in this series, we've mostly looked at including text in our apps and changing the colors of the boxes around them. What if we want to include some graphics in our app? In this video, we're going to look at how we can include images in our apps. This will be in two main forms. The first is embedded images, which are placed just like text boxes. The second is using images as the background, onto which we can place other elements, such as text or even other images. Before we look at how to place images in our apps, let's discuss a very important and perhaps overlooked matter. Where do we get our graphics from? If we want to make apps that we're going to publish on the App Store and ultimately commercialize, we're going to make sure that we have legal right to use these images. Ignoring this issue can have ramifications further down the line, so we want to get it out of the way right now. Of course, any image that you create or any photograph that you take is perfectly okay to use. Any other image, we have to be careful. Images you find online or that others have produced will, by default, not be legally usable in a commercial application. However, many images will be released on a license which may allow us to use them, even if we were to charge for the service they are included in. You can find lots of images on websites such as Flickr, which are released to the public domain or allow us to use them with attribution of the creator. It's usually really easy to check the license. So let's get some images for our app. Let's head over here to flickr.com, and in the search bar at the top we can search for some categories of images that we might want to include. So how about we start with bridges. Okay, search for bridges. Now before we go any further, let's click here where it says any license and let's go for no known copyright restrictions. Commercial use allowed might be okay as well, but we might have to give attribution for those images. So let's not worry about that at the moment. And let's choose no known copyright restrictions. Okay, we still got lots of good images. Let's pick an image which might make a good background for our app. How about this one of the Golden Gate Bridge? It's quite a striking image. Okay, so if we scroll down here, very important detail is here the license, public domain, so we can use it however we want, which is great. And if we see here, there's the download button. Let's click that, and let's download it in the largest size we can. Once we've done that, let's get ourselves another image, and this time let's go for the category of mountain. Okay, once again we've got no known copyright restrictions on, so let's have a look for some images which might make a good image for our app. Quite like this one. Let's go for this one, and let's download that one too. Now I'm downloading them in the largest possible size here. That's fine for now, but let's consider later on that large file sizes will obviously make the size of your app larger, assuming we don't use image compression or down filtering or something like that, but it's just something to keep in mind. Now let's head over to github.com. If you followed the tutorials so far, you should have an account and a repository set up on GitHub. If not, you will want to head over to the first video in the series where I guide you through the whole process. A link to that video should be appearing on the screen now. Once you're in your repository, you'll want to open a new CodeSpace. Create a CodeSpace. Once the CodeSpace is set up and opened, we're going to want to create a new React Native app with the same command as we used before. That was npx create React Native app. Okay, press enter. We'll be asked what to call the app. Let's call it image display. Image underscore display. Once you've pressed enter, you'll be asked what type of app you want to make. Let's just go for the default. And then you just got to wait for it to install. Okay, once that's installed, we want to move into the directory for this app. So cd image display. Okay, we're inside. Now let's quickly start the app by typing yarn start -- tunnel. If we just wait a minute, oh, it'll ask if we want to allow the tunnel. Yes, we do. Press Y. So now that we've got the app running on our development server, which is on CodeSpace, we should see this QR code here. Now, see here, it says using development build. If yours says that, we don't actually want that. We want to switch to Expo Go. So press X to using Expo Go. Right, that's great. Now, if you've got the Expo Go app on your phone or your mobile device, which you should if you followed the first tutorial, you're going to want to open this app using that. So if you're using an iPhone or another Apple device, you can just scan this QR code with your camera. If you're using an Android device, you can scan it with the Expo Go app. I'm using an iPhone, so I'm just going to scan it with the camera. Okay, and then after a short period, this new app should appear on your mobile device. Now, if we have a look at the app loaded on our mobile device, we should see that it is actually quite simple at the moment. That's absolutely fine. But if you recall, we're going to display some images in this tutorial. So let's head back over to our code space. Now let's close this README, and if we open the tree here, image display, which is for our app, and we have a look at app.js. So let's make this a little bit bigger here. So we can see, similar to the previous apps that we've made in this tutorial series, we've got this here, which represents just a single page app. You can see we've got one view element, and we've got inside that, we've got a text box, which just says a very simple string, and it's just, this is just for the status bar, and then we've got some styles here. This style, of course, is for the container, the view. And if you look here, the background color is FFF, which is just white, the white background of the simple app. Now, if we're going to be working with images in this tutorial, the first thing we need to do is actually put the image files that we sourced earlier into our code space. So let's do that. So some very good practice when you're developing an app is to have all your files very tidy and sort of sorted into folders. So here in image display, let's create a new folder called assets. So this is going to be a folder for all of our assets, images, maybe sound files, or anything else that we're going to be using which sort of remains static. We're going to be calling it assets, and then inside of assets we want to create another folder called images. So we've got assets folder and images. Now let's, if you right click and go to upload, you should be able to find on your computer then a little box should appear which represents the files on your computer. You should be able to navigate and find the files that you saved earlier. Now I've gone ahead and done that. If the files as you've downloaded them are in some weird long name, rename them to something simple like just bridge and mountain. So I can just click on those, and my picture of my bridge and my mountain are just fine. Great. Now I want to pop back over to app.js. Now, how about we set one of these images as the background of our app? So to do that, we need to import a new component type. So up here where we're importing style sheet, text, and view components, let's add a new one, image, and there it is, image background. Now, using this image background component is just like using every other component, like a view or a text. We're going to just place it in the tree of our app. So let's space this out a bit. Let's put a bit of space in here, and we're going to put our image background actually within this view component here. So let's create a new component here within view. We'll just put the right level of indentation. Okay, we're going to do image background. And we're just going to open and close that for a minute. And we're actually going to put inside this, we're going to put our text inside there. Okay. Now we need to tell React Native what actual file to use for our background. So inside the opening tag of image background, let's put a line down here and put a bit more indentation. So we're going to tell it what actual image file to use. So let's say source, so that's the file to use. And then inside these curly brackets, we're going to say require, right? And then open a curled bracket. And then we're going to give it the path to the file we want to use. So in inverted commas, let's say dot, so that's here, dash, assets, it should suggest assets, slash, images, slash, so what file should we use? Should we use mountain dot JPEG? Now, if the app is auto-updating on your mobile device, let's have a look at it. Yeah, it doesn't look quite right, does it? It looks very squished up. Right, we need to fix that. So the way we're going to fix that is by defining a new style. So if we have a look down here in the styles, in the style sheet, let's put a bit of space here. Right, so let's define a new style called background. Let's just call it background, right? And then we're going to put in some curly brackets. Right, what we're going to do first, we want to say flex. Don't worry about what flex means. We'll come back to that. Resize mode. We actually want stretch. We want to stretch the canvas out to the space that we've got. Right, and for now we're just going to say justify content, center, and align items center. If you followed the last tutorial, you'll remember that justify contents and align items just control how things are laid out. The reason for this will start to make sense in a minute. Right, so that doesn't seem to have made any difference to our app, actually. Why not? If you've been following the last tutorial, you remember that once you've made a style definition, you actually have to assign it to the component. So up here in the opening tag of our image background, we're going to want to tell it what style to use. So let's say style equals a curly bracket styles dot, and we've called it background. Yes, we have. Right. So if we're looking at the app now, it seems to be a bit better. It seems to have stretched out that background a bit better. Now, actually, it still doesn't look quite right, does it? there's these white bars along the side. The image is sort of squished in the middle, and I've had a bit of a mess with it, and the problem is actually in the parent component, the container, which is the view which goes around this image background. Right, so I found that if you just get rid of align items there, you can comment that out by just by selecting that line and doing Control and /. Now we'll notice that the text which is on the app is a bit difficult to read, isn't it, on the background of the image background. So how do we fix that? How about we put another view component around our text box to make it a bit clearer. So let's put some white space in here around our text, and then let's create a new view here. Open and close that, and then we just want to chuck our text component into it. Let's make that a bit clearer. Okay, so far that hasn't actually done anything. Why? Because the view is actually currently transparent. By default it's transparent. You can just see right through it. It is there, you just can't see it yet. We have to define a new style for this view. So let's come down here to our styles component again, and then let's do another one. We'll call it text box. Okay, so first of all, let's say flex 0.5. Now, remember I said I'm going to explain later on what flex is all about? It's about to become a lot clearer, I think. Remember, before we used 1, we're now going to put 0.5. And then let's say let's make it nice and easy to read. Background color, let's do white. And then of course we need to come up here to our new view, and we need to say style is equal to styles dot text box. So that's certainly an improvement. It's easier to read, but it looks a bit stupid. How can we fix that? If we come back down to our style for this box that we've created, this white box, and we need to tell it a bit more, don't we? So first of all, we want to tell it to put this bit of text in the middle of our white box. So let's do here justify content, and then let's tell it to put that in the center. Okay, that's a bit clearer. So what's the deal with this flex then? So we've told it 0.5 for this text box. What you probably guessed is that 0.5 is 0.5 of the sort of space of the parent, which is the image, the background. If we were to say 0.25, it's now shrunk that box down to 25% of the overall space. Conversely, if we change that to 0.75, it's now taking up 75% of the space in the parent. For now, let's just put it back to 0.5. So we can do some other things here to smarten this up a bit. How about we put some, we discussed about padding and margins in a previous video. So let's do padding, let's do 10. So that's sort of padded out the box a little bit. And how about margin 10 again? What if we want to put an image in this white box, in this view? Say underneath this little bit of text here. How do we go about that? Right, so to do that we need to import another component called image. And then we're going to use this image just like a text box. We're going to go here to our view component, which represents this white box. And then we are going to define an image component. Okay. Actually, we don't need the opening and closing tag here. We can get rid of the closing tag and just put that. Now, of course, we need to tell it what image to use, just like we've used the source above. Right, we can actually copy and paste to make this a bit easier. So let's copy that. And let's put that here. Oh, missing a closing curly bracket. Right, okay, something doesn't look quite right. What's actually happened is the image has sort of exploded to the size of the screen. We can see that a bit more clearly if we change mountain to our other file, which is the bridge. Yeah, you can see that it's actually just massive. Right, so what do we do about that? But don't worry, this is quite easy to fix. Right, so what we have to do is once again get a style to our rescue. So let's once again, let's get rid of this white space, create a new style here, which we will call image or image bridge, just to give it a good name. Right, now what are we going to say about this image? What do we want to, how do we want to style it? So we actually want to give it hard dimensions for now. So let's do width 200 and height also 200. Okay, and then we want to assign that to our image. Right, we want to say style is equal to styles dot image bridge. So let's take a look. Right, so we've got an image in the background and we've got an image in the foreground. So we've pretty much achieved both the things we set out to do in this tutorial. So one final thing, the image is off to the left a little bit. So final challenge for you. Can you make the app look like this? Can you put the image in the center? If you followed the last tutorial, that should be an absolute doddle. And that's pretty much it for another tutorial. If you followed through and you've achieved everything, congratulations. You're doing really well. You're well on your way to becoming a front-end app engineer. Well done. There's plenty more to come. There's loads left to learn in future tutorials. We're going to be covering all sorts of other things, including some back-end stuff. So congratulations again. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and follow along the rest of the series. Thank you very much. Goodbye.